Yeah, we find her, that beautiful girl we've been missing. We wanna have her kissing. We find her, now we in love. So it goes out, the remix.
D&B, Tux Bites, remix.
Now if I had to lose you like a bad phone connection, I'd change my game to get a better reception. Sit back, let's start this interaction. Don't fight the feelings, just a chain reaction. Your heart won't give you the wrong instructions. Like my GPS, yes I got the right direction. We gotta merge together like a road intersection. Last stop is gonna be my love and affection. I ain't like the mother dudes, they wanna call you shorty, but I'ma call you a beautiful girl. I took your picture home, my mama saw it, she's a very, very beautiful girl. I wanna put you in my video, cause you're so beautiful. You're a beautiful girl. So when you hear us on your radio, turn up your stereo. It's beautiful girl.
Gotta find a shorty, what's worth of a lady. It's nice but maybe doesn't look like 40. It's taking a little time. I wasn't seeing no signs, any traces of my baby. Who's gonna be my baby? But I thought I'm gonna take my time. Within took a long fine eye. I saw a shorty passing by. She's got this very pretty smile. It was right at the bus station. I tried to make a conversation, holding her arms, feeling so charmed. I felt this sensation. It's been a while that I've been trying to find a beautiful girl. Now I realize I found me a beautiful girl. She's a model, she's so fine. I just wanna take it by. Beautiful girl. Sparkling eyes are killing time. I found me a beautiful girl.
My wish came true when I saw you, girl. God must have blessed me with your beauty, girl. Looking so right from your head to your toe. Shaped like a Coke bottle with a smile of a queen. My queen to be, you my destiny. Got a body of a goddess with your beauty. I'm impressed and I'm never in distress. Come on over and be mine. Been searching for a man and now all the cats keep looking to mine. With a sexy walk and a sexy talk, she must be from a planet called the sexy world. I know I ain't tripping, better yet I'm thinking put a ring on the finger. We look good together, take your place in my heart. With your beauty I'ma say that I'll never turn away. Who would think I'm in love?
So the way she smiles at me just really makes me weak. The way she speaks to me just really make me go so weak. Keep staring in her eyebrows. All I kept on saying is wow. If you touch as a breeze at night, all I really want in my life. Oh yeah, it's been a while that I've been trying to find a beautiful girl. Fine brown eyes. I found me a beautiful girl. She's my model, she's so fine. I just wanna take it. Beautiful girl. Sparkling eyes, killing tight. I found me a beautiful girl. Yeah, beautiful girl. One beautiful girl, yeah. Beautiful girl.
Damn. Money. You seen her? Hot Ice. Have you seen her? LP. Have you seen her? I'ma go over the Tux Bites. I know you've probably seen her. He has a lot of beautiful girls with him. Tux, it's D&B, baby. Look.
Beautiful.
I look for a while, but I can't seem to find a beautiful girl so I can make her mine. Time after time I've been searching for a while, but every girl I meet never seems worthwhile. What can I do? I pray to God for an answer. I feel pains in my heart like cancer, and when I find her, I'm gonna romance her. Lace several presents and gifts, call me Santa Claus. I make a heartbeat pause. That's my girl, homeboy, not yours. The girl of my dreams, she's more than I ever thought. Show me Aston Kutcher I think I'm getting punked. She's what I really want, so I'm a go-getter. Since I'm a go-getter, you know I'm go-getter. And I will give her the world, anything for my beautiful girl.
Psych. Ooh, it's been a while that I've been trying to find a beautiful girl. Fine, brown eyes. I found me a beautiful girl. She's my model, she's so fine. I just wanna take it. Beautiful girl. Sparkling night, killing time. I found a beautiful girl.
Girl, it's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Make love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.
What is going on? Welcome back. Wow. How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Do me a favor, if you're coming in, hit that like button, share and subscribe. Hopefully you can hear me now. Can you hear me? Can you let me know in the chat if you can hear me? Shout out to all 5 of you watching me right now. If you can hear me, let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. Let me see who's in the chat. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Maybe I should check myself. Oh, D-Love, thank you so much. She said loud and clear. Yep, love it. Thank you. All right, we're back. Akabo, Surieto, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. D-Love, thank you. I appreciate you. Film Girl, what's going on? Hello. Welcome. Pin everybody to the room. Hit the like button, share and subscribe. Ping everybody into the room. We have a big story lesson today. Okay. We do have a reaction. I have some things prepared. Everything is changing, man. Everything is changing. So change is inevitable. So change is not stuff you can shame people about. Shaming doesn't work. Shaming as an action word doesn't work. Shame is the one that we all like to have to help us course correct, to help us adjust to morals, character, values, right? That one is a function of values, right? That one is it's a symptom of having values in the first place. But you can't shame the shameless. It doesn't work. If you don't have shame, you can't shame, right? So things are changing, however, and there are real life consequences for these things changing. A lot of these issues are mental, emotional, in nature. So you can't just say, "Hey, I'm going to turn myself off emotionally and not feel." That's not how that works, unfortunately. If you feel, you feel, you know. So welcome D, welcome to you, beautiful. Thank you for being here. All right, so we have this story. This lady, Shirley Strawberry, long time ago, when I used to, as a matter of fact, possibly part of what influenced my ability to be able to do what I do here, which is come on a stage and talk and share from my heart. You know, I used to listen to talk radio. So when I was in college between 99, 98, and 2005. The first 3 semesters was basically a community college and just whining time, 18 credits, didn't really go anywhere. But I started college officially 2000, the year 2000, January. And at the same time, I was doing FedEx. So I started working at FedEx 1999. By 2000 January, I started driving those trucks. I was 19 years old. Okay, I was driving the big trucks on the streets of New Brunswick, New Jersey, back then. But what kept me going back then? You can imagine there was no digital radio or anything like that. However, they started releasing some small gadget like this. You can tune to radio. So I would listen to morning radio. It was basically a morning shift between 6 and 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I would go to college for the rest of the day. See, I don't come far. I'm not telling you my age too much, right? Well, you guys know my age. I'm 43. I don't hide that. It's a blessing, right? So I would basically just so I had like a little earpiece. It wasn't this fancy iPhone ones. It was those little ones, the black ratchet ones that you buy on the corner store. Plug it into my little radio. I will have it. It has like a little slot, like the thing you used to put a phone in your belt, right? Yes, it had that. So I would deliver, and I would wind away time for 4 hours every morning. I did that for 7 years. All right. So I did not stop doing that until my business took off in 2005, 2006. I had already finished school as well. So I just handed my resignation letter to FedEx. That was 7 years that I spent with FedEx. Why am I telling you that story? So I used to listen to radio in the morning, morning radio shows, and I used to. I was like, I could talk. I have some opinions too, here and there, So I would listen to. For those of you in the New York area, you probably know what I'm talking about. If you're not in New York, it's okay. Miss Jones in the morning. Eventually, they fired Miss Jones in the morning. They had Star and Buckwild all up in the morning. I just enjoyed the banters back and forth early in the morning. It kept me going. The 4 hours came in about 4 minutes because of these people. Then I would switch back and forth. Eventually, Steve Harvey was on the radio in New York. Suddenly, I think it was around 2005 or 6 or so. I don't remember now. Somewhere around that. Then I would switch back and forth between Hot 97 and 107.5. WBLS, and Steve Harvey was on radio. So this lady we're talking about today, Shirley Strawberry, was always on the radio. She would read letters, relationship issues, and her and Steve Harvey would basically dissect these videos. All right, and they will basically give advice on radio. So that's as far as Steve Harvey's think like a man, act like a lady. That's far as he's been coming, like advising people on the radio. Throughout that time, Steve Harvey was going through divorce, was going through his own issues back and forth. I think he's had 3 marriages since then. But this young lady, not young, she's now 68 years old. She wasn't exactly young, but I guess you can call her a young lady. She also had she had history, but she was single. Had a nice voice. At that time, we didn't care about putting the face to the voice, because there was no internet, right? There was no internet. Please help me like on the video. Let me see. I'm missing one like. Hit the like button. Let's get the like button up there. Thank you. All right, if you're just stumbling in, welcome. We're talking about not Strawberry. We're talking about Shirley Strawberry. That's what they call her. She's a co-host with Steve Harvey on his morning radio shows. So there's this story that's been my wife sent this to me, and I was like, you know what? There's some lessons here. She's at the age of 58 or 59 years old. She chose wrong. From what we can see now, okay? I mean, we're not God. We can't really talk about people choosing wrong. I see people throw that around carelessly, loosely sometimes. I'm like, listen, just because they have life crisis, because he got locked up, because he's a scam artist, that's not necessarily equal to choosing wrong. Everybody has somebody, right? So, but anyway, it depends on context. Most people right now will say she chose wrong, especially at the age of 58. Like at the age of 58, all the maturity you need should have come by that time, and she'll be able to choose a partner who may have a past, but there's a high chance they won't go back to that past, right? And that's what we're talking about today. But I'm also going to highlight this young lady that my wife watches a lot, Pink Book Lessons. I'm going to react to her video to bring us up to speed with this story. And then I have some things that I want to talk about. I have tons of questions to ask you ladies and lots in the chat. I have questions, you know. The number one question is, when it comes to vetting potential partners, is there a specific age at which you believe people become wise enough? That's the question that I have today. Okay, that's the number one of about 10 questions that I have for you. I want to know your answers. Okay, and then by the end of the show, I will have one or two things to say. Film girl, she says, older women get vulnerable because of loneliness. Yeah. Does that creep in more over time? Does that come in more over time? Does it become more over time? Because she also had a daughter. She has grandchildren. So, but yeah, a part of me agrees with you, but then I see that a lot of women push against it, and I'm open ears. I wanna learn today. Maybe there's something I'm missing because I'm a man, so I can't necessarily relate with you. A part of me just want to tell you how I feel, which is everybody will become lonely with time, because just start with your metabolism. It slows down. Even your physical body metabolism slows down. So activities generally slow down, and then you start engaging, and then, it's a lot of things that just slows down over time, Hey, Grace King, she said there's no age at all. All right, let's talk about it. But I want to play this video, and then we'll react to the video together, and then I'll say shout out to Pink Book Lessons. Then we'll get through it together.
So we have the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Oh, funny enough, Pink Book Lessons use the same background music that I use. All right, so let me mute it so we don't hear multiples. All right, so now let's get through the video.
Being highlighted, and it's not a good look. The co-host of the Steve Harvey Morning Show, Shirley Strawberry.
Good morning, everyone. This is your girl, Shirley Strawberry.
She's famous on the show for her Strawberry Letter, where she and Steve Harvey, they give relationship advice.
Subject: my wife is living like she's single. Dear Steve and Shirley, I have been married to my childhood sweetheart for 8 years. And we have 2 wonderful children. Early on, we had problems in our marriage, and we separated for a short period. But we worked things out, and I thought we were back on track.
So that's her right there. That's Shirley Strawberry right there. All right. So she still look good. She's 68 years old. She still look good. But the struggles are deeper. Yoruba people, Monkoti, everybody Roman show. We don't know what people tie for apart. We don't know. People wear clothes, they dress good, they look good. You just don't know what they're going through, right? They might put on a show, rightfully so, serving you, entertaining you, enlightening you, right? As a matter of fact, whenever you hear me say, hopefully you've been enlightened and educated, actually I think I heard that from Star and Buckwide. They were a radio show in New York. Yeah, I think I heard that. I don't remember, but I think I heard it from them, But it stuck with me because I listened to those radio shows for years. Let's keep going.
My wife admitted that during our separation, she had flings with 2 other guys.
Oh, me that he need to be making 6 figures to keep her happy. Now you got 2 jobs that ain't making 6 figures. Right. So you just working all the day and you still ain't making 6 figures. But this heifer right here done told you that's what you need to do to make.
All right, so when this guy says this heifer right here, and they're speaking all those southern ebonics and stuff like that, this radio shows also help me understand them more by just listening over and over. So I used to be like, huh? See, they thought they were doing huh to me. I was doing the huh. What did you say?
Make her happy. Get on back out there and get the flanging again. See, that's what you probably need to do. Now, she has a demanding full-time job, so she don't do much around the house. Now, I want y'all to listen to this right here. He working 2 jobs.
All right, I don't want to get flagged by the actual radio, so I'm going to make the speed by the actual radio shows because these guys, they are merciless. I'm going to speed it up. There you go. Then I'll slow it down when it gets to Pink Book Lessons voice.
Already, right? She got a demanding full-time job, but he say, I cook, clean, take the kids to and from school, wash clothes, help the kids with homework, and maintain the lawn.
Now, pardon my manners really quickly. Happy July 4th to everybody in the United States of America. It is July 4th. I hope you have a barbecue to go to later on. I will be going to a barbecue later on. And honestly, this is not my normal time. I also did not do my normal house rules, and maybe that's why it was like, Ola, where's the house rules? Oh, this is Man of Prestige. My name is Ola. I'm coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. And over here, we talk about relationships from a power standpoint. We talk about self, social, emotional intelligence, seduction, and attraction. Just in case you don't know, we do have a free book and a free course available at loveandprestige.com. The free course is only for a limited time, so if you want to grab that right now, if you want to join us on WhatsApp for behind the scenes conversations and stuff like that, just go to lolaanola.com/WhatsApp, or you can send a WhatsApp text to +1732 305 8577. All right, just wanted to do that really quickly before we continue about 30 minutes into the show. All right, so now let's get back to the show. Before we get back into the show, we do welcome all types of support. Hit the like, share, subscribe, super chat, all of the above, right? It helps us keep going. Okay, now today, because of July 4th, we do have a special deal going on for our premium courses, all our premium courses and coaching program, which span over 12 months, are $2,000. Let me be clear. The premium courses and the coaching program are all $2,000, okay, on a normal day. Now, today, just in case you're not on the newsletter, we do have a deal going on. The code that you need to use is IND50, IND50. That's IND for independence, 50, one word. That's the coupon code you have to use, and I think it will give you 50% off of any of our premium courses. When you get to olatalks.com, you will see, once you log into loveandprestige.com, you'll see access, and basically our programs comes with live session, 12 months engagement coaching with me and my wife, not just me. Okay, just wanted you to know that. Okay, we have a 21 days marriage boot camp back there, in addition to the engagement with us for 12 months. I just wanted you to know that today. I almost forgot about that. All right, so now let's get back to the show, right? Let me see. Before I get back to the show, let me see. I see somebody saying something. Film Girl says, the older you get, the smaller your dating pool. You hardly get the top of the cherry pick anymore. The already lean pool thins further down if you have standards. It's rough for women as you get older. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Not too far. How you day? Welcome. All right. So yes, I'll be right back. Let's keep going with the show. All right, so today is somewhat of a masterclass, but let's keep going. Let's keep the show going here.
Shirley Strawberry, she's been in broadcast for nearly 40 years. Originally from Chicago, that's where a lot of broadcast talent came from back in the day that would get picked up for national syndication. Shirley was also on the morning show of the late Doug Banks. In Chicago, she was a legend on the airways before being introduced to Steve Harvey in LA.
So let me go back and slow it down. She
Shirley
started
Strawberry,
talking now.
He say, I cook, clean, take the kids to and from school, wash clothes, help the kids with homework, and maintain the lawn.
All right, here we go.
Shirley Strawberry, she's been in broadcast for nearly 40 years. Originally from Chicago, that's where a lot of broadcast talent came from back in the day that would get picked up for national syndication. Shirley was also on the morning show of the late Doug Banks. In Chicago, she was a legend on the airways before being introduced to Steve Harvey in LA when he was on a local Los Angeles radio station with his morning show. Steve put Shirley on his show back around 2000, and when he was syndicated back in 2005, Shirley went along with him. They've been working together for well over 20 years, close to 25 years.
I love Honeybone.
All right.
She handles everything.
So that's a long time. 25 years they've been working together. Steve Harvey is one of the, by way of brand, one of the greatest relationship guru here in the United States. But somehow, and she's reading Strawberry letters, advising people on relationship all the time. You know, so we might have a case of the blind leading the blind in this culture, just so you know. I just want to put that out there really quickly. Let's continue.
From her first husband. She was single for a very long time, and over the years, she dropped some hints about the mistakes she made in her marriage. She still always maintained her privacy. So she was career driven. She didn't have her daughter until she was about 42 years old.
Wow.
And after being single for so long after her divorce and having a successful career in broadcast, she decided that she wanted to love again and that she was going to put herself out there. That's when she met her husband number 2 in 2013. Ernesto Williams, originally from Augusta, Georgia, but he moved to the Atlanta.
All right, so this is them salt and pepper kind of guy. Good looking guy, right? So it's easy if you're a 58-year-old woman. She was 58 or 59 at the time, 2013. Okay, it's 10 years ago, right? Yeah, so she must have been around 58 at the time. You meet a guy like this, seems seasoned himself. He's been through life. You know, you give him a chance. You know, second chances. We all get second, third, fourth chances. So there's a part of the good angel probably telling you like, hey, why not give him a chance? He's a good looking guy. Similarly does well for himself. Let's continue.
Atlanta area in 1994. At the time, Shirley's only child, her daughter, was in high school, and Shirley said that one of her female friends introduced her to Ernesto when she took her to his concierge business in Atlanta. Her friend made up some quick excuse and left Shirley there alone with Ernesto. Miss Strawberry spoke openly about her love story in a piece about her wedding, saying that the day that she met him at his business, they opened up about their past and hopes for the future. Then Ernesto arranged for one of his company's drivers to take her home, and he expressed interest in taking her on an official date. She said that he was an honest, nice gentleman and was just so kind to her. She told him that she wasn't trying to be a girlfriend and she was looking to be a wife. So the following year, Ernesto got together with Shirley's teenage daughter, who was a senior in high school, and Steve Harvey to propose to Shirley live on Steve Harvey's radio show.
Yes, sir.
Would you die for her?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Would you take care?
All right, so this was the proposal on radio. I wanted to pause it a little bit so that again, these people don't come for the video. D-Love say, I can already tell the guy is a Fawaraja. You know what Fawaraja is? If you don't understand Yoruba, it means baroof. It means fake, cheap. What else? What's other words we can use, right? Natu, did you say you remember that day? Oh, so you listened to Steve Harvey as well. You remember the day? I did not see this. Remember, I have not listened to radio shows like that since 2005. I listened religiously between 1999 and 2006 because of my FedEx job at the time. But yeah, let's keep going. And he
Steve Harvey, who
proposes.
Shirley says is her big brother and her uncle, never mind that she's older than him, advised Shirley about how to handle her relationship, and he was 100% on board with Ernesto. Steve was very supportive of their relationship. He even walked Shirley down the aisle at their wedding in January 2015, which was also a celebration for Ernesto's 50th birthday.
All right, so they got married in 2015, about 8 years ago. All right, it looks beautiful. I mean, you know how we do when we get to those weddings. You see even the ambience of weddings, just being in the event, right? And the pictures, all this fancy stuff. The more we go into the future, the more these weddings become a full-blown production, stages, backstages, backdrops, 360, Amala station. I learned all of this recently when we did the party for my father's 70th birthday. It was quite a lot. Like, it was like, this guy will not appreciate all this stuff. Okay, let's do this. He will like this. There's something they're charging for something. There's vendor for everything. Help me tie my lace. You can help me do this. Get lace, $50. Full-blown production, right? So, but the Americans, they don't do as much as we do, but it's still beautiful, right? That's white wedding. That's how they sold us on white weddings. I don't blame people. Entertainment is part of life, right? It's part of life. It's part of what keeps us moving. Varieties, basic human need, right? Yes. Let's keep going.
Shirley said that she had learned from her mistakes in her first marriage and wanted to be a better wife in her second marriage, saying, quote, "I'm working to be an even better wife to my second husband with the lessons that I've learned from the mistakes that I made." Ernesto was described as an entrepreneur to the Steve Harvey audience. But what they didn't tell you was that he was a card-carrying Pookie with a bunch of children and a long rap sheet.
Wow, Pookie with a bunch of children. We got now this two things. I'm an entrepreneur. What do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. That's not what you do. Entrepreneur is more like a blanket thing, right? Like, I could be a marketer and be an entrepreneur. I could be a consultant. I could be an entrepreneur at the same time. I could be an IT professional, technician, and be an entrepreneur at the same time. What do you do? What is it that you offer people, right? But that doesn't tell us anything. I think they will tell us more anyway, But this story, do you find it interesting so far? I find it interesting. Let's keep going.
He's also into a lot of shady practices, and now he's
Like
being
what?
accused of some very disgusting behavior. Take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. It's now coming out that Ernesto Williams, also known as Nesto, he calls himself Triple OG Nesto, but he's really just Ernest. Guess he reinvented himself by adding the O at the end of his last name years ago. But Ernest has a past that Shirley Strawberry knew about, and she's still been supporting her husband for the last year since he's been going through his latest legal troubles. Now, they presented him on the Steve Harvey show as a businessman who owned a bunch of upscale businesses in Atlanta. He owns an upscale grooming business for rich clientele without being so fancy though. We're talking about barbershops.
So now, before I continue, I do believe some people do try to change. Okay. I believe some people try to change. Okay. And I believe that a lot of people successfully change. It's easier said than done though. Okay. It's easier said than done. I think it's a very difficult thing to have lived a certain type of lifestyle. Selling drugs, I'm not saying he did, I don't know the details yet, right? Selling drugs, a bunch of baby mamas, always partying, crime, blue collar crime, being used to a certain amount of money. I was just watching I don't know if you guys know who the Wolf of Wall Street is. I was just watching another YouTube video with a guy called CoffeeZilla, and they're always looking for money. They're always looking to get rich, you know. So as much as they don't want to do what they did in the past, they always have a part of their brain that justify beyond what it needs to be, you know. And yeah, it's a very difficult thing, you know. So, but I do believe some people try to change, but I also know that it's almost impossible. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. So if in case you have some bad behaviors in the past you're trying to change, I need you to understand that you have a big battle in front of you. You have a uphill battle ahead of you, right? And you need to have all the support systems you need, because you will, if you don't have support, you will slip back into your old ways, you know. It's just the way it works, okay? But yeah, just wanted to highlight that really quick. Let's continue.
He also has a security company. Ernest, the self-described triple OG, he's been committing crimes since back in the 80s, running in and out of the courthouse and the jailhouse for 40 years, while Miss Strawberry, she's been on the radio for 40 years.
Damn.
He's done state and federal time, 2 cases of armed robbery, one in Cobb County, Georgia, the other in Douglas County, Georgia, sentenced to 10 years in the state for the Douglas incident. He served Fed time. That was for a federal bank fraud case. All of that was before Miss Shirley met him.
The Grammy Award-winning Burner Boy live in his largest North American show ever. Burner Boy presents Love to Me, Saturday, July 8th at Citi Field. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
He's been sitting in a jail.
There you have it. If you're in New York City, Burner Boy is coming July 8th. How come I didn't know that until now? Jesus Christ. I did not know that. I might just end up at Burner Boy's show next weekend. All right, let's keep going.
In the Atlanta metro.
Now, keep in mind what she just
County,
said.
Georgia, the other in Douglas County, Georgia, sentenced to been on the radio for 40 years. An upscale grooming business for rich clientele without being so fancy, though. We're talking about barbershops.
Barbershops. She's talking about barbershops, okay? There's nothing wrong with barbershop if you have a fleet of barbershops. But is that money going to be enough, right? That's the question. For what you're used to. Film Girl says, you know, a life of crime, having several babies, selling drugs, etc. goes hand in hand with the way the Black Americans are socialized. I don't know about the Black American part. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about the Black American part. For obvious reasons, I'll just leave that at that. But yes, the first half of what you said, 100%. You know, a life of crime, having, okay, that's the same thing. Let me see, is our feed working here? What is going on with our feed? Let's make sure that the story, we still have the story. Okay, we seem good. I don't know why. Oh, okay, I know why. What you posted it twice. I see it, but YouTube blocked it for obvious reasons. Even YouTube doesn't like generalization. There you have it. Or is it somebody that removed it? Maybe somebody removed it. No, I don't think so. I think YouTube flagged it itself. Let me know, what kind of experience are you having back then? But yep, you know how these things go. Anyway, let's continue. This story is long. Hopefully we don't take too long. All right. Oh, you deleted it. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. It still shows up to me. Thank you. So even you know, I love it, Film Girl. I love it. All right. So I love it. Let's see. Let's continue.
He also has a security company. Ernest, the self-described triple OG.
So he has security company.
He's been committing crimes since back.
Security company, basically renting out security personnel to people's events and stuff like that. The question is that, will that money be enough? Okay. Now, you're absolutely correct, Film Girl, about when people, this lifestyle, they tend to come with also high taste. They want the finest things in life, right? And usually this small, small, moms and pops, what do you call it, right? This type of small and medium size, not even medium size, small businesses is not enough money to maintain this type of lifestyles. You want to show up the Bentleys, you want to show up the pink Bentleys and Lamborghinis, Birkin bags and stuff like that. Security company no go feeds, it's not enough, right? Or what's the other company? A few barbershops in the corners in Atlanta. It's not enough.
Back in the 80s, running.
These are some of the things you want to pay attention to. Somebody has high taste, right? But you look at their business, you're like, but still, do the math, a little bit of math. If it's not adding up, there's probably something you should know. And if they're not, and if there's something you should know, and they're not saying it just in conversations, it should be coming out. Hey, I have this other business. I have a partner. Oh yeah, we do have this type of business. We are in jewelry business. Oh, we dig diamonds in Uganda, and have this business. Like, people talk. People naturally talk when they are comfortable around you. When they feel safe around you, they feel like you're part of their life. They start speaking, and if things will align, you will know if they can make the kind of money that their lifestyle is representing, right? But maybe Shirley Strawberry was too busy with her own life. Who knows, right? But that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about love, wisdom, and vetting. Okay? We're talking about love, wisdom, and vetting today.
In and out of the courthouse and the jailhouse for 40 years, while Miss Strawberry, she's been on the radio for 40 years. He's done state and federal time, 2 cases of armed robbery, one in Cobb County, Georgia, the other in Douglas County, Georgia, sentenced to 10 years in the state for the Douglas incident.
Yes.
40 years, while Miss Strawberry,
40 years in and out of jail.
she's been on the radio for 40 years. He's done state and federal time, 2 cases of armed robbery.
So let's look at this for a second, right? If she's been on the radio for 40 years and he's been out of jail for 40 years, let's look at her, right? There's a good chance that she doesn't know how to steal. She knows how to make money, being on a job every day, consistently, the same job for 40 years, same type of job at least. And she will manage her money and just live a lifestyle around that, right? Like, we have a lot of radio people these days. They want to show their face and also show some booty and show some outfit and show Gucci shoes. We have a lot of hush puppies that are radio people on the internet today. They want to show their face because 2 things. Competition. Their competition is showing their face. The second thing is, hey, people just have a higher need of attention these days. Not just women, men as well. Okay? But you can tell that even though Steve Harvey has a big brand, you could barely see her onto this terrible story, But here we go.
One in Cobb County, Georgia, the other in Douglas County, Georgia, sentenced to 10 years in the state for the Douglas incident. He served Fed time. That was for a federal bank fraud case.
He served Fed time for a federal bank fraud case before her, right? So if she spent 40 years doing it, what do you think somebody who spent 40 years going out of jail will continue to do? Probability-wise, not possibility-wise, probability-wise. They will continue to have same taste. They will continue to get tempted and nobody's going to catch them, right? And all of that and all of that, all of that. And her, she will continue to have a tendency to just want a quiet life unless she associates with a situation like this, right? These are the realities you want to pay attention to, right?
All of that was before Miss Shirley met him. He's been sitting in a jail in the Atlanta metro. He's been detained for nearly a year. And people are now connecting him to Shirley Strawberry after a recent bond hearing for those charges that he's been locked up for since last year, along with 4 photos allegedly found on his device. The state says they were inappropriate in nature and displayed individuals under 18.
I think you're right, Ernest Williams. Don't let that lady.
All right, so this is the Zoom call leaked apparently into, their public records. And what it looks like to me, let me see here for a second. Before I do that, let me see. Figure said, I have seen Americans easily overlook that someone has gone to jail multiple times. They easily believe when people like Ernest say they have changed. Niger people, for example, can't condone it. I see what you're going at. There. For example, weed, right? My experience, okay, my personal experience is that most people around me, weed is not normal for them. All right. But also in recent times, I've noticed that. Let me. It seems too quiet here. Also in recent times, I've noticed that it's, I used to think, you know what, Niger people, we don't do weed because of the way I was raised, because of what I was surrounded with, right? And but right, exactly. So weed is not our normal. But what I came to find out in more recent times is that a lot of Nigerian people smoke weed same way. It's just that I wasn't around them, right? And they, especially if they were raised here. So Nigerian people raised here, weed is not much of a big deal to them as those of us that were raised in Nigeria. I was raised in Nigeria between my developing years, 3 years old to 18. I was in Nigeria. So, and I wasn't around people smoking weed. I barely see cigarettes. I see some cigarettes maybe after I got towards my senior year in high school. Some of them just want to test it and they're feeling like big boys too, right? I've seen that a little bit. So now me coming back to the United States right out of high school, I didn't go to university too. So it's like, so it's off of all of our, but to a lot of people who were raised in America, I would say people who were raised in America, not necessarily Americans, by whatever you want to call it, right? But raised here, birthed here, and raised here, yes, weed is not a big deal to them, just like it's not to us. I mean, just like it is to us, right? So weed absolutely is like pure water to them, like, But even in Nigeria now, if a kid is raised in Nigeria in certain environments, maybe it's not like pure water. Once they start getting out into university, they go to university and they start hanging out, it becomes like it's not a big deal. Why are you all up about, When I first came back here and I started living, I don't know how many of you remember Bola used to be. Yeah, Bola was a guest here a while back. I lived with them when I first came back in '98, right? And when the siblings, who are considered my cousins, when they would smoke, it was like, why are you smoking? And they would look at me like, what is your own? Right? And it took me a second to adjust. It's like, oh, it's a thing here. So when I would be at the bus stops trying to get to school and stuff, in fact, eventually I was smoking second-handedly. Okay, not smoking that I've never smoked personally. I think I smoked one time within the last 5 years, and it was a cigar, and they gave us a cigar to smoke at some kind of party in Puerto Rico. I've never smoked, but I was able to adjust my mindset, like, oh, I'm just judging these things based off of what I've seen, essentially, and how I was raised, So it said people who smoke weed openly back home are associated with crime. Yes, I associated with them with crime personally, But once you grow up and you start being around more people, you're like, oh, there's some of my friends actually smoke weed now, and they claim that it's because of pain. But I could tell that you've been smoking before. You've been smoking small before, right? So you just, it's not part of who you are. You will probably say, hey, it's only this group of people. So I just wanted to highlight that really quickly. Let's get back to the Shirley Strawberry story. But you're right. People who are birthed and raised in America, weed is not a big deal to them. If they were raised close to the hood, they might have a higher tendency. That's what you're saying. Have a higher tendency of overlooking the fact that somebody has been to jail multiple times, right? There's also this story of this guy, Jay Morrison, real estate mogul guy, who has a lot of stuff around his name. Now he's claiming to be clean. Can you get with somebody who is clean? I'm just saying, hopefully your discernment radars are sharp, okay? And we're going to talk about that even more right now today, okay? There's some stuff I want to share with you on how to sharpen your discernment radars, so that even if you don't know for a fact, there's some things that your radars will pick up and you might not know why. You just won't be able to move forward. You just be like, something is off somewhere. Okay, and that's more so about what we're talking about today. Okay, yep. So she said, exactly my point. Miss Strawberry won't have seen honest jail past as a big deal. Yeah. Well, today we're gonna start seeing all of that as a big deal in combination with some other variables. All right, let's get back to what's her name? Pink Book Lessons. Shout out to Pink Book Lessons
for those charges that he's been locked up for since last year, along with 4 photos allegedly found on his device. The state says they were inappropriate in nature and displayed individuals under 18.
I think you're right, Ernest Williams. Don't let that lady back in. Ernest Williams, wave your hand.
I heard you, Judge.
All right, here we go. His position is those 4 cases, I think, for Mr. Williams. But 355 days without indictment. There's a $15,000 bond as of 10/31/22 for theft by deception.
That's him in jail.
22 CP 211078. Ernest Williams 300.
That's him in jail. He was picked up a while back. He was arrested a while back. Actually going on more than 6 months now. But that's him in jail you were just looking at.
55 days without indictment. $75,000 good bond as of December the 31st, 2022, with 3 counts of conspiracy to commit a felony. Position 4 is 22 CP 212559, 355 days without indictment with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counts of conspiracy to commit a felony, and there is a $20,000 split bond as of 10/17/2022. Position 5, 355 days without indictment, 23 CP 215407. I'm assuming you want me to waive, Mr. Lewis?
Sure.
All right, I can say it if you want me to, or do you want me to waive?
I don't think Mr. Williams cares. But yeah, wait, Judge.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 other felonies on there that have to do with the.
Just in case you don't know, a lot of court cases and hearings are handled on Zoom these days. Just if you're wondering what is going on with the low quality, it was a Zoom call because, since COVID now, so they came up with new ways to handle these cases.
Nudity, let's say. No bond as of January the 13th, 2023.
So they found nudity stuff on his phone or whatever, in his gadgets and stuff like that with underage and some inappropriate stuff. I don't know if it's underage, inappropriate stuff. That's all the stuff it was charged with, okay?
On one of the bonds, I believe that you signed, Judge, you tell him he can't be with his wife. I'm going to ask that you...
Is that Melody Scretchen?
No, it's the other lady, the SS lady.
All right, so what you just heard there is that the judge misconstrued one other lady for the actual wife. And I guess this is the lawyer, the counsel. And he said the SS lady. Who is the SS? This is how people started to dig it up, right? They call her SS. I mean, what a way to hide somebody's identity, right? Shirley Strawberry, SS, Ernest Williams. I'm not sure if they were trying to hide her name, but yeah, that was quite giving. But let's see what the judge does at this point.
Oh, Strawberry.
He said, oh, Strawberry. Oh, Lord. So it looks like that's when they started, I'm not sure, that's when they started to, people started connecting the dots. Oh, yeah, of course, she was married. And obviously some people have probably heard the news already since he was arrested.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, let him be with his wife before we end up having a divorce matter in Fulton County.
Oh.
Wish I could be quick on this one, Judge. This is an extremely dangerous person we're dealing with here. And
all right, so that's a prosecutor or somebody saying, well, these are names. They don't want him to be with his wife. All right. And he said, well, before we have a divorce case, let him be with his wife.
Wish I could be quick on this one, Judge. This is an extremely dangerous person we're dealing with here. And there's going to be numerous upcoming warrants coming in this case. I believe Roswell told us today when we checked for an update. Before the 13th, there's going to be about 15 plus more warrants coming his direction.
There's going to be 13 or 15 more warrants coming.
There's felonies in there.
Are you interested in starting your own faceless YouTube audio?
So if it's locked up right now, since a while back, they probably have some solid stuff on him, right?
For sure.
Good evening, Your Honor. Yes, as Mr. Majeski has stated, he's considered dangerous. There are several pending warrants that will be coming out that, based on their content alone, there's a great likelihood that he's someone who commit further felonies. Furthermore, without mentioning the facts of the case in front of us, children were involved. The state is requesting a bond, knowing that he has to have a bond because it's been well over 200 days, a bond of $200,000 per count, giving us a grand total of $800,000 bond.
Now, that hearing was just days before the 4th of July weekend.
It's been locked up for more than 200 days. You know, they don't just, there's a reason for that.
Triple OG Nesto, he's been sitting in jail for almost a year. Roswell, they've been promising those new charges since January. 7 months later, and now they're saying some more serious felonies will come before July 13. For the 4 counts related to the photos, Judge Manning granted a bond amount of $200,000 per count, and the other charges, $5,000 per count, for a total bond amount of over $800,000.
Wow.
Other conditions include having to surrender his passport to his attorney because they heard him on a recorded jail call talking to Shirley about him going to stay at her boss, Steve Harvey's house.
All right, this is the part I'm hearing clearly for the first time. So, $800,000 in bonds. $200,000 per count. There's probably 13 to 15 more charges coming, and they overheard him on a recorded phone call to the wife
in Abu Dhabi. The jail also recorded him talking to his attorney because they heard him on a recorded jail call talking to Shirley about him going to stay at her boss, Steve Harvey's house in Abu Dhabi. The jail also recorded him talking to his girlfriend in Florida. And then one person he was ordered to stay away from was Shirley.
So he has beards now. Maybe he turned Muslim in jail, right? Maybe he's tried to change his life in jail one more time, right?
Strawberry, that's Shirley's 26-year-old daughter and Shirley's grandkids. This is absolutely crazy.
Wait.
Shirley's 20, and then one person he was ordered to stay away from was Sheridan Strawberry, that's Shirley's 26-year-old daughter and Shirley's grandkids. This is absolutely crazy.
He was ordered to stay away from his child, stepchild, and step-grandchildren.
And I'm surprised how Miss Strawberry, with her connection to Steve Harvey, was able to keep all of this on the low. Ernest made the news back in October 2022 after being arrested with this woman here.
So he already made the news back then, okay? So I didn't see it, okay? So he made the news back then.
Scamming people out of over $1 million, posing as a successful businessman.
That's it.
According to their victims, they said they would coach them and help them grow their business. But after they gave them the money, the victims did not receive any of the services.
Oh, they were coaching them and helping them grow their business. That's it.
As a successful
There's a lot of those people out there.
businessman. According to their victims, they said they would coach them and help them grow their business. But after they gave them the money, the victims did not receive any of the services.
Well, more than a dozen people scammed out of $1 million. 2 people have been arrested on a number of fraud charges.
Fox 5's Denise Dillon talked to Roswell police about the pair's extensive business scheme and why they believe there are more victims.
Police say for years these two would convince people to give them money, and in return they would help them with their business or personal goals. But investigators say it was nothing but a scam.
There has to be more to that because there's no guarantee with any kind of coaching, consulting, anything. There's no guaranteed results, right? So there has to be more to it. But they said 13 to 15 more charges and warrants are coming. I mean, anyway. Well, I will pay attention to the story as they come out more. Hey, Mo Fresh, good to see you.
I would consider them fraudsters.
Roswell.
Wait, is that the same woman? Is that the same woman? Okay, there was this person, and now this person. Is that the same person?
Going into an office, working.
I guess that's the same person.
I knew that I
years, Ernesto Williams and Erica King passed themselves off as experts in various fields.
And they would align themselves with their victims with promises of being able to grow their brands, their missions, their life goals, their social media followings.
Detectives say Williams and King acted the part, and people paid good money for their services, but walked away with nothing. Police say it was all a scam.
More than a dozen victims and over $1 million in monetary and property loss.
Yeah, there has to be more to it. You can't, yeah. The way they're making this news is not just about coaching and consulting, because there's no guarantee that comes with that, okay? Because people, after you coach them, consult, they have to actually implement, and you can't control how you can put systems in place, you can put structures in place to help them implement, to increase the chances that might implement, right? But you can't guarantee results, right? So when they say they didn't deliver the service, there has to be more to it, right? I'm guessing here there might be some credit repair services attached to this. Some kind of active stealing somebody's money beyond just selling them coaching and consulting is involved in this. Yeah.
Police say their investigation first started at this home on Pine Grove Road months ago. Investigators say after Williams and King hadn't paid rent for a while, detectives started looking into their financial transactions, and it led them to their extensive scheme. Police say they were convincing.
Individuals who have been doing this for a significant period of time and are proficient enough that they can make people comfortable and act against their better judgment.
Williams and King are now in jail, both facing multiple charges of fraud, forgery, and theft. Police warn if you want to grow your business, make sure you work with a legitimate company.
Try and go with very reputable businesses if you're trying to grow your brand, grow your business, so that you don't end up a victim.
Of those 12 fooled, some were here in Roswell, others across metro Atlanta, and even a couple out of state. And police believe there are many other victims. If you have had any dealings with King or Williams, call police. In Roswell, Denise Dillon, Fox 5 News.
When I say this guy is bad news, not only do you have all these allegations of him scamming people out of $1 million with that lady there, and the allegations involving those 4 photos, but he's got warrants in Henry County, Georgia, Los Angeles County, California, and Orange County, California. He's got a girlfriend in Florida, and Shirley was talking about helping him hide away in the UAE at Steve Harvey's house. And I know somebody with influence had to call around Atlanta to be able to keep this under wraps for so long, since last year. Now, I have to tell you the truth that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. Some people are saying they feel sorry for Shirley. She didn't know what her husband was up to. One, nobody told Shirley to be pressuring somebody to hurry up and marry her. He proposed in less than a year.
Oh wait, so she pressured somebody? Okay. Is there an age do you get to that you should not be pressuring people to marry you? Like, is there an age? Do you ladies think like that? Like, hey, after I'm a certain age, you don't, no pressure. If we're having a good time, if we're dating, there's no need to pressure. So, was this guy under pressure? Did he fall under pressure to propose? Is that what happened here? Because he did propose, and it was a grown man times 3 when he proposed. 48 years old, I guess, when he proposed. 48 gets it with a 58. Yeah, interesting.
Here.
Maybe he was looking for something else.
And they got married 6 months later after the engagement.
6 months later.
What high-quality man is rushing to marry anybody?
I mean, 6 months is not that. It's not that quick. 6 months is not. It's not that quick. 1 year later, 6 months. Yeah, it's not that quick.
Let alone a senior citizen. That man is at least 10 years younger than her. Only a scammer will go along with that foolishness. But that's what happens when you're old and desperate. You wait all these years, realize you're tired of being lonely, and then they rush to get married out of fear that they have less days ahead of them. This is why a woman with her visibility will marry a career felon.
She took a risk. She took a risk. All right. There's assessed risk. There's risk. There's all types of in-betweens. Okay. I wouldn't call her a desperate woman. I just wouldn't, you know. Listen, if you really want to go all pragmatic, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. If you want to go all pragmatic, engaging in a romantic relationship is a stupid move. Okay? It can all go left. It can all go wrong. However, slow down. There are some things. There's some things you just learned that there's an extremely low chance that you will end up in this kind of situation. There is still a chance, but an extremely low chance, right? And we're going to talk all about all of them today. At least let's have the conversation. At least, right? We're only a little bit over an hour into this. This is good. I thought we already spent too much time. All right, so let's keep going.
That's why I don't feel sorry for Shirley. She knew that she was getting pookie.
There's no need to feel sorry for her. It's experience. She probably learned from this. She's 68 years old now. She probably doesn't need this guy for anything, really, outside of, carry what every now and then and, companionship. I don't think by the time she got married, she probably needed some companionship. She's still going to need companionship. And at 68, believe it or not, for someone like her, she has visibility. She has reach. It's not going to be much of a big deal for her to find another companion, okay? However, should we just be running around these streets and just be collecting wutu just because we have time, just because we have visibility? I don't think so, but I wouldn't call her desperate necessarily. Just like you said earlier, Film Girl, if you were raised here in America and you were raised in a certain way, two things, raised in a certain way, you just overlook some things. Somebody is showing some legitimate business. They show that they are waking up every day, going to work, serving people, providing services to people. You might just be, it's possible to be disconnected from the reality that he might still be involved in bad behavior, okay, in questionable behaviors. Let's keep going.
She knew this, but here's the secret that everybody knows. They love Pookie. She thought she had a reformed Pookie, but Pookie was still active out here in these streets. Triple OG, that's what he said. And then these allegations with these pictures, that's just another level of disgusting nonsense. She's meeting this guy, bringing him around her teenage daughter when they first met. She's grown now. But you have women who will move men in with all their young children.
Yeah, that's a stretch. We don't have to go there. It's sad that this is happening, but you don't really know what happened there. You never know what happened there. Let's keep going.
They don't know what they're about. And I say this all the time. It's just reckless and stupid. So no, I don't think any of it was Shirley's fault. He obviously committed these crimes, not her. But I don't feel sorry for her. Everybody here is way too old to be making these silly decisions. He's 58 years old. She's about to be 69 years old. We're talking about a woman that's almost 70 years old, trying to figure out how to hide this man at Steve Harvey's house, allegedly. And then Steve, he's always trying to take credit for people's marriages. I'm sure he tried to take credit for hooking them up too. I do believe the whole thing was a setup, because Shirley claims her friend took her over to Nesto's and just left her there. Like what? And then she said that he was just so kind and nice and honest, according to her, treated her like a queen.
That happens. Why is that a Me Too moment right now? They went to hang out, a friend introduced and left her there. That happens. Like, why are we gonna make a big deal out of that now? Unless you know that person, and you intentionally put your friend in harm's way, which is terrible. But no, that happens. That actually happens. Like, hey, I want to link you up with somebody. I want to introduce somebody. Hey, come with me. All right, good. I'll be right back. That happens. Is that a bad thing to do these days? Do we have to be careful with that? I'm asking, okay? Because, hey, there's a lot of things that used to be and it's no more because, is that a big deal now? I'm just asking.
Translation, he was just kissing her behind with excessive flattery because he was scamming the whole time, using his proximity to Steve Harvey through her to look legit and scam people. As for Steve Harvey, I just wish he would stop trying to advise people on relationships.
Wahala.
He was the one
Steve don't collect stray bullets.
He'll tell women as long as a man is simping for them and kissing their behind and the woman's not really putting in any work, that means he's a good guy.
No, I don't believe. Pink Book lessons have a tendency to speak in this side of that mouth. But no, I don't believe Steve is telling men to simp. I think he has certain rhetorics that simps actually are very allergic to, and they can't stand it, and they get very triggered when Steve says, why are you triggered by what a woman brings to the table? These are the kind of things that trigger simps, okay? If anything, that's it. I personally don't think that I think Steve refuses to pander to simps. That's what's going on here. But I understand. I know what her rhetorics are for the most part. but this is not one of them, you know. And people can make mistakes, and I think the people that make the worst mistakes, right, are the ones who think they figure it all out, and they have no room whatsoever. They have no room for nuances, right? So now when mistake comes to them, it's like a shocker. But when you understand there are nuances, there are people that make mistakes, there's some mistakes you can't afford to make, right? Then you know that there's nuances to it. I think the simps are actually triggered by a lot of things that Steve has to say. Now, in terms of Steve advising women, okay, obviously act like a lady, think like a man. Think like a man is literally masculine behavior. So obviously when we start to dissect that, again, like I said, nuances, we can see some parts that were like, okay, maybe 14 years ago this could have been a good advice, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and we need to pay attention to that, right? But to outrightly just say he's out here telling people to simp, I don't think that's what he's doing. Absolutely not. That's a way to oversimplify the issues in the dating, marriage, and relationship scenes right now. We're actively trying to oversimplify it, and it doesn't work. It's not working, clearly, you know.
Qualified. He was the one advising Shirley on this guy here. He'll tell women as long as a man is simping for them and kissing their behind, and the woman's not really putting in any work, that means he's a
That's
good
a
guy.
stretch. Jesus
but let's
Christ.
go ahead and get the conversation started. Special thanks.
Anyway, that's the conversation. Let me get my music back on. Shout out to Pink Book Lessons. You know, I like a lot of stuff she has to say. I just don't, when I start hearing pandering to men, that also triggers me the other way. Like, no, we don't want to pander to men. We need to have a conversation, and we need to unpack everything. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this. Oh, it's a big conversation here. I have about 10 questions. Okay, I have 10 questions real quickly. Let me see. Sorry, pardon my manners. Mrs. She Said, what's going on? Good to see you. How's Mr. He Said? How you guys doing? Good. Film guy says, what does Pookie mean? Mrs. She Said, can you help here? Because I don't know. What does Pookie mean? Jesus, how would I say? What does Pookie mean? Pookie is basically Pookie is used. I don't know the source of it, but it's usually used to reference the lower. I don't know the words. I'm lost for words right now. Mrs. She Said, maybe you there can help us with that. Pookie is I'm trying to see if it's Yoruba word or Nigerian slang to describe Pookie. It's like Pookie in Niger slang would be like let me think. You know the stereotype around the Femis and the Tundes, right? And maybe the Chinedus, right? Right? Basically the kind of guy that is a player, the guy that doesn't really care for your feelings, but he tends to attract a lot of women, but is also eventually you will regret getting with him. Okay, that's Omoita, aka Boki, or you mean Paki? What's Pookie? Pookie. Okay, aka Pookie Omoita. Tout, not tout. Okay, they use Pookie more so these days on the internet. They use to reference men that attract. They're high on social, on their social abilities, but very low in everything else. Okay, so they don't really care, but they know how to make you feel good being around them. That's just one aspect of it. But Pookie and Ray Ray is more like the lowest of the lowest quality of men in the society, in the community, and basically, most women will attract that. That's what they claim. Like a lot of women attract the Pookies, and then come and complain later that the Pookies does not care. Well, it was a Pookie in the first place. He might know how to wear Gucci belt, dress up and down in Fendi, but that's what attracted you. You know, I probably did a terrible job explaining this, but I know what they mean when they say Pookie and Ray Ray. It's basically the lowest quality of man, not necessarily lower value. Okay, a lot of women are attracted to the lowest of quality of men. Okay, I think I found it. Lowest quality of men but highest value in terms of market value because most women attract them. Okay. Could Pookie be Fawaraja? Yeah, they on the surface they look good, and yeah, like it's all, you're gonna like it. They're business people, they bring the flowers and all of that, but when you get into the situation, you might find that you've ended up with the lowest quality of men in the society. That's what I've seen it used as, but I don't know the source of the word, okay, because I wasn't raised here. Yeah, Yoruba demon. Yeah, more like Yoruba demon. Okay. Yes, more like Yoruba demon, right? The Pookies have nothing tangible to offer. You explained it well. I did. Oh, I hope so. But I know Pookie and Ray Ray is more like the American thing over here. So, but I know what they use it as. I just didn't want to end up in a situation where they said that's not what it means. I don't know what it means. I know what you use it for. Okay. All right. They like the swag, but when you look closer, the uncle is essentially empty. Yes, precisely. That's what Pookie Ray Ray is. Okay. It's often used maybe in the same way you would use Yoruba demons, or way Auntie B and the Obodo family will use maybe younger versions of what's the phrase that you guys use all the time? Mongo Park. Maybe something like that, you know. But Mongo Park can obviously transcends beyond just dating, right? All right, so that's that. So let's get into this. Just a quick highlight of what happened in October. This news was published October 25, 2022. It says Roswell, shout out on Fox 5. This was on Fox 5. Roswell police make double arrest in $1 million fraud scheme. Roswell police have arrested 2 people in connection to a $1 million business scheme. Investigators say 57-year-old Ernest Williams and 46-year-old Erica King convinced people to pay them for their business expertise. They would align themselves with the victims. Okay, so we saw this earlier. Police say William and King acted the part and people paid good money for their services. However, investigators say they never provided the services. I'm trying to see if there's more here. Roswell detectives first began looking into, okay, we saw that earlier. Okay, so we're going to follow the news. Let's just get into the lessons for today. I have questions. Okay, I've got question. Okay. And yeah, these are my questions. When it comes to vetting, okay, when it comes to vetting potential partners, is there a specific age at which you believe people become wise enough? Why or why not? Okay. Is there wise? The key word is enough, not overall wisest. Not we finish wise. Not we finish wise from wise banks. Okay. It's wise. The key word is enough. Enough to be able to vet for a potential partner. Right. Now I would add on to this question and say, hey, is there an age that you get to that the ability to vet start to deteriorate? Because I remember what Film Girl said in the beginning. Let me see if I can pull up from the beginning. She said older women get vulnerable. She said older women get vulnerable because of loneliness. So the older you get, so do you get, is this like some kind of bell curve? Is there a bell curve involved in this, in the answer to this question? Do you know what a bell curve is? Let me see if we can find a good bell curve to show us here. Right? Is there some kind of bell curve involved in this? Let's see here. Right? Where you get to a certain age, but then this same thing we're talking about is it becomes less and less. You don't have the capabilities, the ability to be able to vet reduces with time. It starts to reduce. Or it's just absolutely, it just continue to increase. Check this bell. This is bell curve right here. Can you see it, bell curve? This is a bell curve. Is this more like a bell curve? It increases. So let's say at 15, You start paying attention, and then you get to, where does it peak? That's the question we have here. That will be the question today. Where is it? Where does it peak out? I think that will add some more context to that question. It's a common type of distribution for a variable. The variable here being your ability to be able to vet, also known as the normal distribution. I'm asking, what are your thoughts around this? You get to an age and it peaks out, and either for multiple different other variables, maybe fear, maybe being out of the game, you don't know what's out there, you don't know how vulnerable you get in this new marketplace that you're not familiar with because you haven't been in dating scene, right? These are the questions I'm asking. Give me your opinions in the chat. Let me see your opinions. Now, what are your thoughts around this, right? Is there a specific age or age peak, right? I have more questions. Film Girl says it's easier for outsiders to vet your partner better than you. They see what you can't see objectively. That's such a fantastic point. Okay, I would go on even to add this to it. If you're a woman, right, because of our social construct, see, I admitted it's the social construct, but it's reality, okay? You probably shouldn't be doing the vetting yourself. But, a Shirley Strawberry will claim that, hey, but Steve, maybe this is where I will agree with Pink Book Lessons. Maybe Steve should not be vetting for anybody because, hey, would you die before her? There needs to be more. But that was just a radio show. We don't know what they did behind the scenes, right? Maybe it needs to go a little deeper than that, right? But I agree 100% that you probably should have, especially if you're a woman, you should have other people vetting for you. If you're a man, you need to be sure of yourself, okay? You shouldn't be asking people permission if you should date a person. I think that works against our social construct. Because it will reflect, if you're not confident about the person you're trying to get with as a man, it will reflect on your behavior. You will end up collecting woto. You need to be sure of yourself. That's part of what makes you a man. But if you're a woman, okay, you're probably better off having other men, preferably, do part of the vetting for you, okay? Because they can see and they can pay attention to some things you're not capable of, right? Now, again, back to the bell curve. Is there an age especially where it starts to deteriorate? The reason for this question is that we have a lot and more people say it can happen anytime. You're right, it can happen anytime. But in what way? It happened anytime for Shirley Strawberry. But this is bad story. You would agree that this is a terrible story. It's an extreme story. But come on. We should still talk about it, right? Just something to bring to our attention. Do you like how that blue is matching my shirt? Right? Just something to bring to our attention. Okay, we do have some additional questions here. The second question that I have here, okay, to just help us, to stimulate, to help us come up with some more insights around this topic. This topic is really more about age, maturity, wisdom in particular, right? That's what this is about. So the second question that I have here is this. What factors do you think contribute to someone's ability to vet people properly for a quality romantic relationship and marriage? What factors? Is it solely based on age, or are there other important aspects to consider? Question. That's a question for you. What are the factors that you might think that helps you with your ability to vet? Okay. I said earlier there's discernment and there's vetting. To me, when I think of vetting, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. When I think of vetting, I'm looking at a checklist. Check, right? When I'm thinking about discernment, it's more like a part of your spirit just disagrees with something, right? Like, just disagrees with it, right? And you can't really put your finger on it, but something about you disagrees with the idea of being with this person. right? And every time you try, you just know that it doesn't feel right. Everyone around you might even be telling you, like, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. She's a good woman. Don't lose out, but something about your spirit just said, no, it's off, it's wrong. Because you're the one experiencing it from a romantic standpoint. And something about you keeps telling you that, yeah, maybe I should chill. Maybe I should relax. Maybe I should observe a little bit longer. In the middle of you observing, you cheated with somebody else. And somebody's like, you cheated, and you're like, yeah, I guess you could call it cheating, but something was disagreeing in my spirit all along. Somebody's stuck on the morals and value of it, and you're like, listen, I need to cover myself here, right? Not to say it's emotional intelligence. Yes, I think that's a base. That's a baseline, especially an ever-growing emotional intelligence. Yeah, basically, I think that's going to be the base minimum of where you need to be at. I kind of mentioned a discernment, right? But what does that even mean? What does it mean to be able to discern, right? Because honestly, I'm not sure if I've ever looked up the dictionary meaning of it, right? I think it says the ability to judge well. Yeah, like literally outright judgmental, but it's internal. You're like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm looking at a source here. It says in Christian context, perception in the absence of judgment. Perception, I like this one better. Perception in the absence of judgment with a view to obtain spiritual guidance and understanding. I kind of like that, But yeah, let's look at this one. Here's another question for you to think about. In Shirley Strawberry's case, do you think it was possible for her to detect the potential issues with Ernest Williams when she was 50? Right? When she was 50 something, when she got married at the age of 49, 50, 48, whatever that was. No, at the age of 50, when she was 50. No, she was actually 60 when they got married. Okay? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on trusting someone who has a criminal history? Oh, we're getting down to it now. Somebody has a criminal history, right? And they seem to be a good guy right now. They dressed up, they cleaned up, beautiful man, right? And you're like, right? At the age of 50, if we bring up the bell curve again, because again, where is the peak? Where is the peak here for this bell curve? Is that 35, 40? The same thing is applicable for men. Everything I'm saying today is applicable for men. When you get to a certain age, your ability to vet properly and discern will decline. Like everything else in life, it's a double-edged sword. Always, I just give you the answer. It's a double-edged sword. Don't let anybody tell you the absolute. The older you get, the wiser you get. Not necessarily true. It gets worse for some people. It's a very subjective thing, depending on what else is going on in their life. Okay? Depending on their proximity to self-improvement, self-development, remaining a student for life. Right? And it gets worse for them, especially the more they don't think there's anything to learn. It gets worse. Remember pride? Pride is a bastard, a double-edged bastard, right? And pride doesn't just come and fall out of the sky. It's because you know something. In fact, you are an extremely intelligent person already. People respect you for one reason or the other. That's where pride comes from. Pride doesn't just come from inside. It's because society is responding to you positively in certain respects. So you're like, it's me now. I remember I have accolades, right? It's just me. Like I'm good at this stuff, right? So the more you feel that way, there's a massive blind spot that's been built behind you, and if you're not careful, it might work against you. All right, it might work against you. All right, so the next question I have for you is, how do you personally define wisdom in the context of relationships? Is it primarily about life experience, not to emotional intelligence, or something else entirely? Something else like age, right? Do you just get wiser with age? Should you just wait until 35 before you think about marriage? Should you wait until you finish all your PhD, right? I don't think anyone waits, personally. I think people justify by saying they wait, okay? I don't think anybody actually waits, okay? If you are presented with a good opportunity that in your own perception, you're not going to let it go. You're not waiting. Can we be honest, right? You're not waiting. Okay? In your own perception, so that's already justified that you want it, right? If you're presented with a good opportunity to get with a potentially good life partner, I don't care if you're 15, you're not letting go of that. You're not letting go of that. Okay? Now you might claim, oh, I remember Anita. Anita said, I've been proposed to multiple times. Huh? You're right. Stop the cap. Yeah, right. Yeah, Anita was a liar. I don't know if she's lying about the pregnancy, but everything else was a lie.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you?
Yeah. So there you have it. Again, back to the bell curve. But this question, let's address this question. Let's see. Let me repeat the question. How do you personally define wisdom in the context of relationship? But let me see. Film Girl says, older women tend to forgive more because they have failed at something. So they empathize with the man that has failed in his past. Yes, that's a good point. Older women get more nurturing, so they are drawn to helping a man rebuild. Yeah. Listen, we're all going to be building. We're all going to help each other build. But there's a line you cross there. You know, like everything else, it's a double-edged sword, right? There's a line you cross where you're helping a man build. First of all, men, deep inside, they don't appreciate you. We don't appreciate you helping us to build like that. It's it messes with our very fragile ego. I got this. I can do this by myself. I got this. So it's a little tricky there, right? A little tricky there. All right, let me see here. Let me see something. Let me see. Oh no, this guy, man. All right, let's keep going. So it's tricky. Yeah, older women definitely, that is a variable. As I always say, there's about 2,000 different signals and variables, right? Which is why we need to keep having this conversation. Eventually, things will converge and it will make all kind of sense to you. And then you have what you call discernment. You just know, right? So there is a line that you don't want to be crossing when it comes to building, and there's a good chance that Shirley Strawberry or people like her will cross that line, and that man will respond accordingly. You will help him destroy his chances of survival because he will be competing against the invincible, right? It just doesn't work out well. These are desperation, insecurity, and just getting really carried away having waited so long. Yes. Let's get back to the bell curve. I love this. Okay. It's called I think it's called hope deferred. I'm not really a Bible scholar. I'm terrible at Bible. Okay, but I know them like the back of my hands, not verbatim, Yeah, but there's a part in the Bible that says hope deferred makes the heart sick. All right, so I'm googling it right now. I'm gonna call. Okay, there you have it. I have it. It's in Proverbs 13:12. Okay. Yep, it's in Proverbs 13:12. Very, very important part of what we're talking about. Hope deferred makes the heart weak. Hold on one second. I just want to post that to the screen so you can see it. Proverbs 13:12. It's one of my favorite verses that basically highlights the bell curve, okay, and the reality of life. When you wait, you're a human being like the rest of us. Eventually, your confidence will get shot in the face, in the head, maybe not in the head, maybe small, and then you start to feel like maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Then you start creating doubt, fear, right? So hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is tree of life. So when it's right, what I'm interpreting that as when it's just right, you'll be able to excel, right? Not waiting to excel in Jamaica with Ernest. This is the part we're talking about right now that you have to be careful about, because again, you need support system. You need the right people around you to help you discern. You need people that have the wisdom, that respects context of time. Okay, there's simply some things that will work in 1963, they don't work now. But also there's some things that are timeless. And so what we find is that some people are questioning some timeless concepts, right? Even in 2023, and they're collecting, right? They're collecting. What badly. And there are also some people that are actively trying to draw 1953 principles into 2023. Them too, they go collect. Context matters. Okay? So as much as waiting, there's a part of the Bible that talks about those that wait on the Lord, right? Those that wait on the Lord, right? But hope deferred maketh the heart sick. Where's the balance between the two? That's what we're talking about today. If you wait too long, your confidence level will get shot. Fear will creep in. Fear in this respect is not a good thing. Okay? We all have fear. But fear in this respect is not a good thing. Okay? All right. Let me. I have questions. I'm on the 5th of 10 questions. I'm not sure if I'll cover them all because I am limited on time. You are limited on time. I want you to get out there and go to a barbecue. Go and hang out with somebody. Call somebody on the phone. Do FaceTime with somebody, okay? Today is July 4th. If you're on holiday today, precisely. Okay? All right. So, let's see here. The next question that I have here is this. Let's talk about these questions. Do you think there is a correlation between age and the ability to make wise relationship decisions? Can you share any personal experiences or examples to support your perspectives? Don't share with me. Just share with the mirror. You don't have to deal with me today. Okay? This is something you should start looking at. There's some experiences you had, and the longer you wait, it's just things were getting worse. And you used to think like, you know what? I'm supposed to get better at this thing, right? Particularly with relationships, romantic relationships, right? So that's one right there. Okay, let's move on to the next one because I do want to share some real cool lessons with you before we end today. Okay, the next question I have here is what do you believe are the advantages of waiting longer to find a life partner? I'm being careful. People are advising men to wait till 35 to get married. I think it's a terrible idea. Okay. How much more when you advise women to wait until they've collected all the PhDs in the world? Okay. It actually gets worse, maybe 10,000 times worse. Okay. Asking people to wait till 35 to get married is a terrible idea. Okay. I have many reasons for it. Okay. Now the upside of it is very clear to me. It makes sense on paper as usual. Okay. You will be wiser. You will know yourself. You're right. You're not knowing yourself outside of marriage. If that's what you plan to do at some point, just so you know. Okay. You won't know yourself outside of marriage. It's just a fact. It's just a fact of the matter. Okay. You won't know yourself. Okay. So that's one. But you be wiser. You know, you should have your own money. Your own money. How much exactly is your own money? Because if we're talking about money, it's never enough. I don't know if you found out. If you find out yet that it's never enough. You know, something decent. Somebody was advising women on Instagram. The person said, let me see if I saved it. The person said that women should make sure they have at least 5 million naira, an equivalent of what, $30,000 or something like that. That make sure you have at least 5. Oh, it came right up. Oh, okay. I actually did save it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's this guy, Joro Lumofi. Right? Joro Lumofi said, ladies, if you don't have 5 million naira, let me see. In your account, you shouldn't be thinking about marriage. All right, let's see his context. He said, anytime I say this, a lot of ladies get hungry. If you don't have 5 million naira, $6,500 equivalent in your bank account, you should not be thinking about a man or marriage. A lot of women are sad, depressed, and stuck in bad relationship because they don't have vex money. Share what advice? Share you to hear advice. These are the kind of advices that go the most viral. Shout out to Instablog Nigeria. This is the advice they are picking up and spreading to millions of monitoring spirits. Okay. Some ladies think they will blow in marriage. Ladies, marriage is not a means to blow. Hard work is. All right. So now I understand that his message is for specifically ladies who think they will blow in marriage. Okay. But what about the rest of the population who are just living life? You know, the rest of the little baby that would try to walk at 8 months. Not the one that will start walking at 2 years old. Though. The one that will naturally, as a natural order of things, or maybe looking at other people from a social aspect, walking. At 8 months, they want to stagger and start walking small. Should that person wait until the legs are completely straight before they can walk? Is that what we are advising people? These advices on a general scale are terrible. They're not realistic. Now, particularly for women who are looking to make money inside of marriage, Joro Lumofi is your guy. Please, by all means, listen to his advice. Okay? There's a good chance you won't be getting married anytime soon anyway. Okay? Not to a person you love, because clearly you're a gold digger. You're looking for money, right? But to the rest of the population, right? People that now, the rest of the population now have pressure. Now they have pressure, unnecessary pressure to save 5 million naira.
Everything I do, I will. Pressure to what?
All right. Yeah, we need all of the nuances. Okay. Nati says, I think the urge to prove to society that you got it right the second time. Let me see. I'm moving so fast. I don't know what question you were answering. Yeah. So for the general population, I think it's a terrible advice. You should want to take care of yourself. But I think to the majority of the population that may have a hard time saving 5 million naira because they're actually living, they're taking care of themselves. I think it's a terrible idea to put pressure on them, or to put an amount of money on it, right? I think it's a bad idea. So what do you believe is the advantage of waiting longer? I guess you wait longer so you can save 5 million naira. I guess a man will wait longer, right? Nah, I think it's a bad idea. I think these things are not relevant to healthy relationships. I think they become what we highlight as symptoms. Finances become something we highlight as symptoms. Once there's a breakdown in relationship, in communication, of course, those are the easy things to point out. It's because I'm broke. You left me because I'm broke. You left me. All those things are easy to point at, but the issues are deeper. They're usually deeper. All right. Let me see here. I have a number 7th question. All right. I have a question. Just question. I'm not seeing a lot of answers. Shout out to Natu and Film Girl giving me some answers there. I'm not seeing too many answers. Shout out to all 31 of you watching me live. I know you're probably at work in your various different places. But today is 4th of July here. Nobody should be working. All right. So, should societal trends and pressures, speaking of pressure, right?
Everything I do, I will. Pressure to what?
Should societal trends and pressures influence our decisions regarding when to pursue a committed relationship? Right? Societal trends and pressures, part of our social construct. I think so. Okay. Should it influence? I don't just think so. I think it's a fact of life that it influences us. Okay. It's just the reality. The question should we, let me see the second part of the question. How do you strike a balance? Now, this is the actual question that we should be focused on. How do you strike a balance between waiting for the right opportunity and taking action when it presents itself? Okay, so this romantic relationships we're talking about, right? You're waiting and waiting and waiting for the right opportunity, right? But what is the right opportunity? What is it that determines the right opportunity for you? What kind of podcast have you been listening to? Because that would dictate your interpretation of what a right opportunity is. What kind of content have you been consuming, right? What kind of trauma are you dealing with from past experiences, childhood experiences, that's influencing how you define the right opportunity, right? And then how do you take action when it presents itself? The right opportunity is a man, right? A woman, potential life partner. How do you decide? We're talking vetting and discerning now again. Nati says, I'm making suya for church, 4th of July barbecue. Oh, that's making sense now. That's making sense. Love it, love it. Me about to go tackle my own suya in a few minutes too. I'm ready to go. They're getting ready for me upstairs, to be honest with you. So I'll be ending the show momentarily. All right. So these are the questions. Should society trends, pressures influence? The fact is that it will. The question is that how do you make sure you're not soaking in the wrong information? How do you make sure you're not being influenced? That your ability to discern, interpret, right? Your ability to say, okay, this is a situation I'm willing to go into. I'm taking a risk. But why call it a risk? Why not? You're making a move of faith. It's always going to be a move of faith. What's it different? It's different. It has different effects on our brain. Okay? When you say you're making a move of faith or you're taking a risk, it has two different effects on our brain. There's some people that tend to be attracted to calling a risk. It's because these are people that think they can put everything down on paper. They are very analytical and they think they can figure it all out. Irony is a lie. You would never figure it all out. But when we say it's a move of faith, there's a level of trust that comes into that. It's trust as against fear, right? It's faith as against fear. One creates better outcomes overall. And even when you have to react to crisis in life, you will be able to react a little bit better. It shouldn't though, but you know, people have different needs that their marriages and relationship are not providing, so they overstretch. Yep. Let's go on to the next question. We got 3 more. Okay. 3 more questions that I'm asking. If you're watching this as a replay later, feel free to use the comment area to answer. Okay. I would love to see what your thoughts are around this story. All right, so we have this question here. In Shirley Strawberry's situation, what lessons do you think can be learned about evaluating potential partners? What are the questions we can learn here? If you were 58 years old and you have a Steve Harvey, shout out to Pink Book Lesson, she said is a terrible advisor. Well, I can't use one case to determine that, okay? People have stories. Just because somebody gave you a good advice doesn't mean you won't go through life, okay? Right? But what can we learn from it? Right? We can guarantee ourselves to learn some lessons today just by asking these questions, right? What can we learn from it? Right? If a person has a certain type of past, criminal past, yeah, I'm trying to be careful because we all need second chances. You know, we're on the second chances. Listen, about 2 years ago, I wouldn't even give this advice, but if you're a man or a woman of certain age, I'm not talking about 24, 25, 26, okay? If you're less than 30 years of age, you should be able to see enough. You should be working on yourself. You should be able to see enough to know if somebody is moving funny or not, okay? They will tell. They don't have that much experience. They will tell on themselves if you're paying attention. Okay, but if you're a man or woman of a certain age, what I mean by that is you're going above 40. Okay, I will have to agree with that too. Background check. Okay, it's not a bad thing. Okay, at the very minimum, you should at least Google the name and all the aliases of this person. Okay. No, don't go in their phone. I'm talking about what you can see publicly, and you should they should be okay with, hey, let's do background check together. I want you to know everything about me, but I want to know everything about you. Okay? And background check will usually, when somebody is participating in bad behavior, they won't want you to do background check, and at that point in time, you probably should pay attention, right? All right. I do still think background check will do very little of the check you need to be doing, right? But there's a fine line between check and always being on the edge, you know, what a lot of people consider masculine. There's a fine line, right? So how do we find a balance between the two? Again, self-work. Nothing beats self-work, okay? Now, Shirley Strawberry, she might claim that, hey, I've done all the work. It's possible. You might have done the work and still fall into it. But before we argue that it works or not, make sure you do the self-work. Just do the self-work. Listen, you're not doing it for the other person or to find a husband. You're doing it for yourself. You're getting to know yourself, right? Your overall quality of life will be improved by constantly engaging in self-work. Okay, self-improvement, self-development, okay? And your self-confidence will probably repel certain types of people, okay? A guy who used to have a past criminal lifestyle and he's still in it, he won't be comfortable being around you. He just won't be comfortable. Now, if he's completely clean, he might get comfortable. He might actually feel blessed and he will not want to do anything stupid to jeopardize what he has with you. But if you are low on confidence, people like Ernest will prey on that. They will take advantage of that. Okay? It's still allegations. All right. I think she got carried away with her age and rushed. If you have been married once, no need to rush. Yeah, my wife says this all the time. If we ended up in divorce, she was never going to marry again. I've said that too, but I also know that when you get in this space of meeting somebody new that you're in love with, completely different rules comes in place. Okay, all type of different set of rules will come in place. So, Gracious Greatness Alpha, I said my professor is doing jam thesis today. My brain cannot take it right now, but I will try to watch replay. I hear you. Yeah, it's a lot. It's easier said than done, but it gets easier if you understand that it's reps. One concept at a time. Soak yourself, immerse yourself in this stuff, and then eventually you will start to hear patterns in the kind of things I'm saying. At that point, you're like, oh, it becomes natural. It feels like a second nature, just a natural thing, right? Instead of trying to cram it. Please do not try to cram anything. Here's my next question. Wait, before I jump into the next question, let me see what D said. D said, my parents have been married for 32 years and they said same as you and your wife. Oh, that's awesome. God bless their heart. Are there any warning signs or red flags that you think everyone should be aware of when vetting potential partners? Well, I already said it. If somebody has high taste, high taste, and they have a business, security business, all this type of small business that is probably not bringing in no more than $200,000 in a year. At most, tops $300,000 revenue net, maybe $100,000 a year, and they are carrying Gucci bag and all on a consistent basis. They're replacing this type of lifestyle, Lamborghini, all this kind of stuff. It's a red flag. Red flag doesn't mean you should quit. It means you should probably pay a little bit extra attention. Hey, tell me a little about your business. That's how you're paying for all this stuff? No, you're a man or woman of a certain age. It's okay if you ask certain questions, okay? It's the way you ask the questions that may be problematic. If you're asking yes or no questions, that means you are not aware, okay? It should be open-ended questions. Questions like, tell me more about this business. Right? Don't say, so how much does your business make per year? Yeah, that question says you're already on the edge. They probably will respond negatively. But say, tell me more about your business. Listen, babe, I'm trying to start my own business. Is there any way you can help? Well, someone like Ernest will say, I can help. How much money you got? Pay me $10,000 for business coaching. Right? But ask open-ended questions that will instigate more conversations. And if you notice that they are actively concealing, they're hiding details, that's not just a red flag. That's like, whoa. Yeah, that's emergency. You know what I mean? So the second part of the question is, how do you personally assess compatibility and long-term potential? Listen, man, it needs to feel natural. Somebody said, but natural? Yes, actually it's easier said than done. Okay, I can bet my monthly livelihood that it never felt natural for Shirley Strawberry. She always knew that, but what can I do? But she don't enter one chance. If you are having moments when you feel like you entered one chance, man or woman, yeah, it doesn't mean it's the other person's fault, but there's something about the dynamic of that relationship that just won't work out. Okay, it could be because they're a scam artist. It could be because you have issues around confidence, low self-esteem, and it's going to backfire and destroy that relationship just as good as a situation where somebody's been arrested for $1 million fraud. Okay, so if you notice here, it's not about Ernest. It's about the romantic relationship you're trying to build. It needs to feel natural. You need to feel like, where have you been all my life? So that is something that's very subjective. It's vague. It's not 5 million naira you must have in your account. That's a stupid advice. Okay? Even people that are gold diggers, they don't care about feeling natural. They are always looking for ways to take from you. They are often more focused on take. They claim it's give and take, but they are focused on the take part of things. They're always looking to take from you, or it feels like they're always taking from you. It feels like an abuse on your end. At that point in time, you don't need any kind of analytical, pragmatic, discrete number, right? To be able to tell. You don't need that. You just know that let me take my time. Maybe just taking your time will give you better clarity, right? but it's a feeling. Okay, when you're able to rest and say, I feel comfortable, I'm vulnerable, I feel safe enough to be vulnerable, that's what you're looking out for. Okay, and then you have compatibility, but compatibility also can be a moving target. Just keep an eye out for that. Last but not least, we're exactly at about 2 hours. Last but not least, so it's a question for you, but as I don't see much in the chat, I see enough, by the way, but I'm chiming in just so we can learn all the lessons in this story without making it about them. Okay, what advice would you give someone who feels uncertain about their ability to vet people properly for a quality romantic relationship and marriage? Does that sound like low confidence, low self-esteem? Is that sounding like that? Yeah. The second part says, how can they develop the necessary skills and wisdom? Grace gonna say, what's dumb? It was the end of wisdom. YouTube is cutting the comment out. That's why there's a limit to the number of characters. Right? How can they develop the necessary skills and wisdom? This is a good question, you know. And I want to make sure that you walk away with something tangible today, you know. But let me just say this really quickly, okay? Remember, okay, all of this at the end of the day is opinions. Okay, opinions. Personal story. This was basically a personal story of Shirley Strawberry and Ernest William and Erica Kings, right? This it's all personal opinions, including my personal opinion. My personal opinion is also influenced by, I'm always in this kind of conversations, you know, obviously as an authority expert around this conversation, but I always remind you that I want it to make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense to you, you cast it to the side. You feel me? Especially if you've already figured things out and everything you're doing is working out for you, you know. Thank you, Jerry, my sister, Gorex. All right. Well, a couple of things I wanted to share with you before we end this session. Okay. Relationship vetting discernment is a complex thing. Okay, but what makes it complex is the fact that it needs to be simple, but our complex brain needs to hear it as if we don't hear terminologies and people throwing terminologies at us, psychoscientific terminologies, sometimes we don't engage. We think our brain is so complex, it needs it to be complex for us to value it. The same reason why the scripture talks about the prophet in his own town, something like that. In his own, it's not valued. Okay, same reason. Okay, it's like you already know the answer, but you need it to sound more complicated before you can value it. That's something you need to pay attention to, right? So even though there's complexities around vetting and stuff like that, remember what I told you. You need to feel natural. Now, if you need to make sure of anything else beyond that, all that work needs to go into your self-esteem, self-confidence, self-improvement is what you do towards that. Okay, how do you do that? Hey, filter the kind of content you're consuming. Okay, you need to, faith comes by hearing, so does fear. Okay, so wherever you're feeding yourself the kind of story, it becomes the kind of story you tell yourself, becomes your reality. Feel me? Okay, so there's enough there when it comes to the complexities, you know. The other thing I want to talk about is age and wisdom. Okay, there is a correlation between age and wisdom. Okay, but like I said earlier, there's also something we call the bell curve. Right, this curve right here. You need to pay attention that the context matters. Okay, you get to a point you stop learning, just naturally. You just stop learning. You need to pay attention to that. Okay, you stop learning, you might want to correlate that with pride, right? Or you're busy with life, or you do what you do best, right? And you're very good at it, and that starts to build some blind spot, and sometimes crisis will come from that. But then if you are already aware of this part of our nature, then you just simply say, hey, let me respond accordingly. Okay, thank you, Natu. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Natu, for the super chat. We will dance in a few minutes here. All right, so that's one thing right there. Okay, all right, then your experiences, I always say experience is the best teacher, right? But not everyone learn from the experience. Okay, sometimes experiences become trauma for people. Okay, meaning it creates potential fear. So when you're operating from a place of fear, absolutely nothing good comes out of that. Okay, some people take fear and say, well, I have fear of this, I'm aware, but I avoid this, that's not my cup of tea, right? And some people will take fear and say, they will basically start shooting themselves on the legs, and it takes over their whole human experience, right? And that's something you want to watch out for. Okay, and it also affect your decision making. Okay, you make decision from a place of fear, right? You need both. You do need to have some kind of fear when that, but not fear in that way, as in like that there's a risk you're taking. You want to assess your risk when you're taking action. So for example, I don't want you to jump out into the dating marketing scene at the age of 58 and just pick any man with salt and pepper on his chin, and then you're like, oh, he's a fine man, he has a limousine company, and that is it. No, you need to pay attention. If you feel safe and you feel secure and all this kind of stuff, there's a good chance that something is right. But if you have questions to the point that you're now removing his name from your house before you sell the house, because she did that. That's part of the story I heard somewhere, that she actually did a quit claim deed. I think she mentioned it earlier. Took his name out of a house in order to sell the house. When you start to move a certain way, when you start to say things to yourself like, hey, make sure you have your own money, right? When people start advising you that you should have Vex money and you can relate with Vex money, there are certain types of wife that can't relate with Vex money. They just can't relate. Like, Vex money, that's a lot of work. I have to start hiding money. Why are they single? You think they are just perfect? No, they're not perfect. It's because they feel so safe inside of the marriage. So there's no need. They can't relate with Joro Lumofin, right? But if you can relate, especially with that kind of advice, especially with respect to your own husband, that's a red flag. And that red flag is not just on your partner, it's on you as well. That may just be trauma speaking. It's something you need to pay attention to. Okay? Also, I want to talk about patience and opportunity, right? There's a fine line between not rushing into a relationship and potentially missing out on opportunity. Remember, the common denominator here is fear. Some people wait until they're 35, 40, 45 in order to entertain opportunity because of fear. Some people rush into marriage because of fear. The common denominator there is fear. Did you capture that? Anybody capture that? Wait, while you're trying to capture that, let's dance small. While you need that to go in a little bit deep. I need that to sink. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Natu. Please, everybody, please support Natu with our fragrance at on Instagram at qualisa.inc. I'll leave that on the screen for a few minutes. So thank you, Natu, for the support. I appreciate you. All right. So again, The common denominator there is fear, right? If you're operating from a place of fear as opposed to faith, and your capability of being able to trust, vulnerability, that's a red flag. Not necessarily on the person, it could be you, but you need to pay attention. You need to unpack. There's something going on there. Okay, there's something going on there. There's some people, they will let go of your past. They feel safe, but they feel safe because everything aligns. If you end up in a situation where the guy actually have ended up scamming people again, you really didn't miss anything. You didn't miss out on anything, let's be honest, because everybody have crisis in life. Okay, everybody have crisis in life. All right, the only thing is that now you have crisis and you want to move on, you want to stay with him, with your full chest, you make a decision on how to move forward. But I'm willing to bet my monthly livelihood on this, okay, that she's always known that something is off. You can always tell, because we are, as much as we're human beings, we're also spirits, and we have incredible radar for bullshit. We can smell it. We might, out of fear, settle, right? You can, out of fear, settle for what you're not supposed to settle for. You can also, out of fear, hang out for the next 20, 30 decades and not engage an opportunity. Same issues. Thank you, Gracious Greatness, for the £5. He says, he first of all said, exactly, you can't make vetting sound like someone is in an interview room for a job or interrogation room for police. Exactly, because it sounds like you already have fear. Again, you're the red flag at that point in time. Naturally, and maybe rightfully so, not naturally so, rightfully so. Maybe you have experiences that created this fear. Now you need to do some work. You need some type of healing. Okay, and then he says there should be a natural flow and gameliness to vetting folks with function. What is that a word? Gameliness? What do you mean by that? This is interesting. That's an interesting. Or gameliness? What word? Anyway, either way, let's dance. Yeah, Portable.
Everything I do, I will. Pressure to what?
Yeah. Anyway, so missing out on opportunities and rushing into a relationship, they're both bad. And they're both the reality for many people. All right. In this woke age, most people will skew to one side of it, but it's all based off of their experience, their personal experience. They are projecting. If they feel like they've missed out on opportunities, or they feel like somebody dumped them, they might say, hey, these women are missing out on opportunities. No, you're speaking from your own experience. Or if they feel like, I don't want to rush into relationships out of their circumstances, maybe they used to justify their circumstances. I know I repeat that a lot because I want you to be careful. Okay, both of them can be bad. Okay, depending on where they're coming from. What's the root cause of it? Is it fear-based? Not the one you tell me or you admit to. The one you can look in the mirror for a few minutes and say, let me look at myself in the mirror. Am I afraid? Right? Am I scared? That part. Am I scared? Right? Anyway, so there you go, right there. So it's both sides. All right. Let's see here. My conclusion is that this subjects become subjective. It's case by case. Okay, case by case. Even in your own world as an individual, each case is case by case. Each event is case by case, right? what happened yesterday is completely different from what happened today. Until you start seeing a pattern. If you see a pattern, you probably should pay attention to that, right? As far as age is concerned, age is much more than a number. We're talking about time, okay? Time is nobody's mate, okay? But no, age is just one variable, okay? There's also many things that contribute to a person's maturity. So it's more of maturity than it is about age. It's more about your experiences and what those experiences has translated to in terms of interpretation. How do you interpret your experiences? It's more so about those things. Okay, there are 60-year-old men struggling with these things we're talking about. Okay, and there are also 23, 24, 25-year-old men who are ready. They're prepared. They're not prepared absolutely, they're prepared to go on this journey of faith. It's a journey of faith because things will happen, right? There's no guarantee. You feel me? There's no guarantee. Okay, but the best you can do that you cannot lose at is always self-reflecting. Just reflect. Maybe, just maybe there's a blind spot. Maybe there's something I don't know. All right. So again, shout out to Pink Book Lessons for the video that I reacted to, for the content that I just reacted to within the fair use guidelines. This has nothing to do with Steve Harvey. Okay. Yeah, you owe it to yourself at the end of the day. Okay, Steve Harvey, yeah, I disagree with think like a man. You can't think like a man. That's an oxymoron. I need you to be a woman. Okay, act like a lady. I agree with that. Okay, I want you to also think like a woman. And think like a woman. Now, in terms of what a man wants, you can gain some insights in all of this stuff in these conversations, you know. But I'll tell you right now, a man needs to be needed. He wants to be needed, and you know, there's a fine line to rebuilding a man and all this kind of stuff. You might end up attracting the worst of the Pookies and the Ray Rays if you have a tendency to want to attract. If you have a tendency to want to help rebuild a man. You know, you want to be captain safe. If he doesn't feel safe, you need to find your levels. There are also other changed past criminals that he can get with if he's that bad. Okay, it doesn't have to be you that you've basically spent the last 40 years of your life you know, building your career, building your life, your reputation, right? And at the age of 58, take your time, man. There's no need to marry, man. Jesus Christ. Take your time, especially if you know that there are questions that are creeping into your mind every now and then. Take your time, okay? It's not like that really saves you from much, but marriage is it's a little bit of an extra step, you know. You know what I mean? It is an extra step that I would definitely say be careful with. Let me come to the chat. Wait, what's going on here? That is deep. What did I say that was deep? I know good at English grammar, Jare. A person needs to have game. Okay. Don't. Yep. Exactly. Don't take themselves too seriously and make life stiff and joyless. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yep. I said to my brother last night, there are no guarantees, but we choose to have faith and hope and belief. Yes. And some people don't like this. They're like, with all these women coming to men's life and taking over and taking half of the money. It's like, you don't have a choice. It's still a journey of faith. You can bark at yourself all you want. It's still a journey of faith. There are things you don't see, you know. Thank you for the super sticker, Jared D. I appreciate you. Let's dance a little bit and then we can round. All right. D is asking a question here. D, does thinking logically like a man do women any benefits or good? No, I don't think so. I don't think it does any. I think being aware that men tend to think that way will do you a better, would do you a better, what's the word you use? Is a better benefit than actually trying to think like a man. Okay, there's the awareness that men tend to walk a straight line, yes or no, 1 is 0, right? In terms of how they express themselves, men are also emotional. Men are not logical machines. Men are not machines. Never mind what they told you on the internet. Okay, men are not logical machines. When we express, when we're trying to solve problems, yes, we tend to be more 1 and 0, yes or no. Let's not go through all of this long process before we get to the answer. I can see the answer already. It does you a benefit to be aware that men are like that. For you to try to turn yourself to that, no, it actually does worse, because men are not attracted to that. Men don't want to, generally speaking, men don't want women who say cut dice, just tell me, get straight to the point. Men are attracted to the fact that you have this process and they have to help you get to the answer. They actually thrive on being able to see that I can see the answer. Now men have to learn to get through the process with you and not rush you to the answer. We benefit from the awareness. We don't benefit from trying to become each other. Because why? Because we need the sexual polarity. Okay, you need the polarity, masculine, feminine energies. We all have all of them, but we need both in order to polarize. We don't need to become each other. Okay, and that's some of the things you will continue to learn more, and it's more people teaching it right now, and I'm happy to see more of them teaching it and say, hey, you do have masculine energy. It's not necessarily your fault. It's just the way things work when you feel the need to protect yourself, right? But the awareness goes a long way. It's half the battle won, essentially. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Grizzly, what's a person's plan when things fall apart? Wahala. The book? I need to read that book, by the way. I need to find it and read it. Chino Echebe. Apologies, MOP. I haven't been answering your question. That's okay, Kemi. I know you guys are listening because I was cooking and listening. I hear you. No wala. No problem at all. As long as you are here, it's all good. She said, you're right when you mentioned Shirley Strawberry didn't necessarily need to get married at age 59. Companionship would have been sufficient unless she has never been married and decided to give it a go. Yes, for as long as she needs to feel safe. I don't push against getting married at 70, 80, but 6 months, and when I kind of know, I can guess that she definitely always had questions about this guy's moves. We're human beings. We know. We just we try to pretend like we don't know sometimes, right? We would like it, what we're suspecting to not be the truth, right? Women are actually more notorious at this behavior, okay? Like, but I didn't catch him. But you have situations like Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is being escorted out of our neighborhood now. Slowly but surely, it's going to happen. White people in our neighborhood are telling her to get out because of the past history of the husband. I understand that that's the person you always knew. They went to jail, they came back, you guys continue to do marriage again, but when you see if it's a pattern, then but I don't know that dude, so I don't know enough of that story to speak to that. But I'm just saying, when you see patterns, you probably should respect that. If you don't feel safe, it's probably because your brain is picking up some things that you're not able to pick up logically, right? And you probably should pay attention to that. How? Just wait. There's no rush. You're 59 years old. Just relax, okay? You can do it later, okay? You can do it later. Later could mean tomorrow too. It doesn't have to be 10 years from now. Take your time. I tell people, take your time, but make sure you're not taking your time from a place of fear, right? Make sure you're not just taking your time from a place of fear. Okay, Sahil, my guy, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Don't take your time from a place of fear. Fear can be a good motivator, but you need to be careful with fear replacing the place of faith in your life. Okay, so and I think that's going to be the biggest lesson in all of this today. Okay, I think that's the biggest lesson in all of this, right? I think most people, in my opinion, could be well prepared at 25 to take advantage of a good person's opportunity, the opportunity of a good person coming into their life. Okay, if you don't have a good person in your life, or from a romantic standpoint at 25, I'm not saying that something is wrong with you. Okay, but there's enough people saying that men and women they said women should wait until they have PhD. They said men should wait until they're 35. I said, no, you're not going to learn anything about life, particularly with respect to marriage and relationship outside of marriage. You will learn all the theoretical stuff that you can read in a book, sure. You will learn boundaries. You will learn what a narcissist. You will learn how to define a narcissist, okay? But you won't learn the most important part about it, okay? You will learn in real time, having experience, right? But there's enough you can pick up, if you feel safe or not at 25. You don't have to get married at 25, but you should start paying attention to marriage at 25. If you are not paying attention to marriage at 25 yet, that doesn't correlate with nature. Okay? The only thing you're going to do is collect bodies. You're going to collect traumas. The longer you live, you will continue to collect traumas. You will collect both experience, and then you will also collect bad experiences. And how you respond to those experiences is subjective, is based on you. And you never know if you're just going to collect trauma, right? You're just going to collect all these bad experiences and start to cast it on the rest of the world. You start recruiting people into this new belief system that the world is just a bad place, right? And that's a problem, right? So at 25, you start paying attention. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision and make a move of faith. Okay? But you will know that you feel safe. You will know that, okay, this is a person I'm willing to build with. Not build a man. That's not what I'm talking about. Willing to build, willing to do life with, right? You will just know that you know that you know. And if you have questions, again, no rush. If you have questions in your heart, make sure that question is not coming from an absolute place of fear. We need to be very, very careful. Okay? We need to be very careful. So if you know these things, and then with time, it's just basically your discernment radar will get sharpened and you'll be able to make better decisions. But the fact that the idea that time, no, you're going to probably collect both. You will collect experiences. What that means to some people is collecting bodies. Not necessarily, well, as a choice, but not necessarily like you would like to, but you will have urges. You want to have sex, you want to get with people, and then every time you do that, and you're holding marriage for another 1 decade. You're not, for the most part, you're not going to just sit around and be looking at yourself for 10 years. Okay? So do people collect more relationship trauma over time? More so than they collect lessons? Like, there's a lot of things there that I want you to pay attention to. Are you accumulating trauma or wisdom? Right? You need to position yourself, obviously, for the latter. Position yourself. Listen, there's going to be bad experiences, just what it is, right? But we're talking about overall, right? So the longer you wait around just from a place of fear, you will probably tend to attract what you fear the most more. It's a vicious cycle, or it's exponential. Okay? And how do you solve for this? Well, you need to surround yourself with wise counsel. Okay? Good examples. Surround yourself with good examples. Okay? Surround yourself with good examples. Okay? So that's the closest you're going to have to experience. Mentorship, coaching, wise counsel, right? And then you will probably create more experiences of that. Doesn't mean you still don't have your fear, but because you're creating new experiences, they're falling. Because again, time is nobody's mate. Don't say to yourselves, age is just a number. What do you mean by age is just a number? That's literally everything. Time, your whole life, right? So there is that bell curve. Don't forget about the bell curve. Okay, you're not just gonna get wiser and wiser and wiser and wiser. That's a bell curve for a lot of people. Okay, there's a lot of variables. You might just hit a peak somewhere and then the experience will start to deteriorate. Okay, you become vulnerable to the worst of our society because you're operating from a place of fear. Let me come to the chat and finish and just round up the show so that we can go and get some of this barbecue, right? Yeah, I see your point, Mr. Ola. Marriott, how far now? How you doing? People must ultimately do what's best for them. Yep, we can't argue that ever. Yo, I'm looking forward to seeing MOP on the Breakfast Club or even a TED Talk. Me too, I'm looking forward to it. Sahil said, good point. Thank you, Sahil. Happy Independence Day to all of you in the United States, okay? I fear being a millionaire in euros, to be precise. Will it attract me too now? Just joking. No. That's a good point. The fear has to be authentic. It needs to come from a real place. You can't just say I fear. Remember I said it's in front of the mirror. In front of the mirror, you stand there and you talk to that person. And then you be honest with that person. Do you actually have the fear of being a millionaire? All right? If you do, maybe you're right. Right? Maybe you are attracted. Test it now. Let's see if it works. Let me know if it works out for you. Okay? Let me know if it works out for you. Shout out to Natu D and Gracious Greatness. Thank you so much for the super chats. I appreciate you. Do me a favor, on your way out, hit that like button, share and subscribe. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. I will see you on the next one. Peace.
One love enough, we done enough.